Governor Andrew Cuomo now step into the podium.
Thank you. Well, we are here with good news. As I'm sure you've heard already, the nightmare is finally over. It took 22 days, but we can now confirm, as of 2 days ago, as you know, Mr. Matt is deceased, and the other escapee, Mr. Sweat, is in custody. He's in stable condition. And let's give a big round of applause to the men and women of law enforcement who have done a great job. It has been a long, long time, but as you've heard, and the superintendent will go into further detail, Mr. Sweat was spotted by a New York State police sergeant, Sergeant Jay Cook. He was approached this afternoon. The sergeant recognized Mr. Sweat, obviously from his description. Encountered and engaged Mr. Sweat. Mr. Sweat fled. The trooper gave chase. The trooper was unable to catch him on foot. At one point, the sergeant decided to discharge his weapon, hitting Mr. Sweat twice in the torso. Mr. Sweat went down, help arrived, and Mr. Sweat is now in a hospital in stable condition. This happened 1.5 miles from the Canadian border in the town of Constable. I had the chance to speak with Sergeant Cook and congratulate him on his great police work. He was alone when this happened. Sergeant Cook happens to be from Troop B, which is this area, so he knew the area very well. But he was still alone, and it was a very courageous act. I said to Sergeant Cook, who has 2 daughters, 16 and 17, I said, well, you go home tonight and tell your daughters that you're a hero. With teenage girls, that'll probably last a good 24 hours, and then you'll just go back to being a regular dad, as I well know. This was an extraordinary situation in many ways. The prison at Dannemora is over 100 years old. This is the first escape in 100 years. And if you were writing a movie plot, they would say that this was overdone. You had hacksaws delivered by a facilitator in ground-up meat. You had 2 prisoners who were on the honor block. They hacksawed through the back of their cell. They got into the catwalks. The catwalks took them into a labyrinth of tunnels where they came across a contractor's job box, large toolbox. One of the prisoners was a burglar, knew how to pick the lock repeatedly. They used those tools then to do the work of breaking the wall, cutting the pipe, cutting the chains, and making way to the sewer pipe. It was an extraordinary circumstance. And the first escape in over 100 years, but one escape is one escape too many. We will have the ongoing investigation to find out exactly who was involved. We have 2 people who have been arrested for facilitation or accomplices in this situation, but the investigation's not over. Now that we have Mr. Sweat, it gives us the opportunity to have some more questions and provide more facts on the overall situation. Anyone who we find who was culpable and guilty of cooperating in this escape will be fully prosecuted. The DAs have done a great job of both Franklin and Clinton County, and I want to thank them. But we will prosecute them to the full extent of the law. If anyone else was involved, we will find that. We will also be conducting an investigation into the systems in that prison. And how could this happen, and how did they have access to the catwalk, et cetera. So there are a lot of questions to be answered, and we already started a full investigation that's being headed by the Inspector General of the state of New York. But today ends with good news. These were really dangerous, dangerous men, both Matt and Sweat. They were killers. Mr. Matt killed at least 2 people. Mr. Sweat killed a sheriff's deputy in Broome County in a savage, savage way. So these were dangerous people. We could not tolerate them being on the loose. The terrain was very difficult. This prison happens to be located in a heavily forested area, so it was an extraordinarily difficult road to hoe, so to speak. And this was an unprecedented coming together of law enforcement on every level. We had local law enforcement, we had federal law enforcement, state assets, all working together, hand in glove, with gears meshing. And I would just want to thank the Department of Corrections SORT team, headed by Colonel Bradford, the New York State Encon Police, headed by Captain Chafia, the Forest Rangers, the FBI, which did an outstanding job. I spoke on the phone to Agent Vale, and Agent Tim Dunham is with us today, and we want to thank them. The U.S. Marshals, the Clinton County Sheriff's Office, the Clinton County DA, the Franklin County Sheriff's Office, Franklin County District Attorney's Office, Plattsburgh Police, Vermont State Police, Governor Peter Shumlin, who was extraordinarily cooperative, visited the prison, brought Vermont assets to work hand in glove with New York, the DHSES, Homeland Security, U.S. Customs and Border Protection, which did an outstanding job in apprehending Mr. Matt 2 days ago, Washington County Sheriff's Office, and the St. Regis Mohawk tribal assets. We want to thank them all very much. And last but not least, I want to thank the people of the state of New York who were, as usual, stepped up to the challenge. People in Franklin County, Clinton County, they had all sorts of leads. They were on the lookout. Law enforcement didn't end here. Every citizen did their job, and they did it bravely, and they did it courageously, and they dealt with the increased police presence and the fear, frankly, of having to go 3 weeks knowing that there were murderers loose in your backyards. But New Yorkers are tough, and they stepped right up. They stepped up to the challenge. They provided help, and they stood with us every step of the way. And I want to thank the people of Franklin and Clinton County personally for their courage, and every law enforcement officer. Literally thousands of law enforcement officers were engaged in this, and it's nice when it ends well. And we said that we're going to have a celebration at the appropriate time, but that everyone goes home safe, and the escapees have been dealt with. You couldn't have a better ending. We wish it didn't happen in the first place, but if you have to have it happen, this is the way you want it to end. Another round of applause for the men and women of law enforcement.